the Dean Obeidallah show. Right now, very happy to have on the show Lucy Lawless. You know her as for her role as Xena, Warrior Princess. She's been on countless TV shows and movies, from The Minions, Parks and Recreation, and now makes her directorial debut with a very riveting movie called Never Look Away. It tells the amazing story of CNN camerawoman Margaret Moth. Lucy, welcome to the show. Nice to meet you. Congratulations on it's getting rave reviews, and it deserves it. So congratulations and welcome to the
Oh
show.
God, thanks, Dean. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Sure. I really enjoyed the documentary. Let's talk about some things that stood out to me. One is, apart from the documentary, I saw an interview where you talked about this movie felt like it was destiny, that you should be asked to tell the story of a fellow New Zealander who was the least known famous person in your country. So why was it destiny? What did you feel? And what connection did you feel? You're an actress. This is a person who went into war zones and literally risked her life to give us a glimpse of what was going on.
I don't mean destiny in some grand sense. I mean it in a sense that when I got that email, I immediately was possessed by this urge. I was afraid it had gone out to 1,000 other people and that I must
Okay.
make this film. And I made all these crazy promises. I'll find the money. I'll find the producers. And I pushed send. And then I went, oh my God, Lucy, why did you say that? You've never done this before. Who are you to make these promises? And then I was like, oh, I'm in too deep. All I can do is go forward. It was like that moment of like, I didn't decide that. I don't know what made me say it. And then
Interesting.
I was like, I was committed and there was only forward. And I guess that's a thing most of us are like, there's only forward. You,
Yeah,
you don't get to go and do over, you can
right.
only
You
go
don't get,
forward.
you do. Although as a country, we can go backwards, which we're going to see pretty soon. But besides that, let's put that aside for a second right now.
Yeah.
We had the choice between forward and backwards, and more Americans pick backwards. So that aside, so let's talk about Margaret. What did you know? I saw another interview where you talked about, like, you were familiar with her, you heard when she got shot. I'll get to that in a second. But was she well known in New Zealand for doing her work here in the States and around the world as a camera woman?
No, in fact, I hadn't thought about her since 1992, since that news report about her getting her face blown off in Sarajevo.
Right.
And everything I knew about her must have been from that report, but it was
Wow.
obviously burned into me somewhere because I just don't know why I had the brass neck to say, this is my story. Nobody else can tell it. I must. and and the truth in filmmaking or television or anything is if you're there before the money, it's yours,
Hmm.
So, and in the end, I couldn't have paid anybody to care as much as me. I thought everybody would care, but at that time, it was really just me. So it fell to me to direct, and I'm so glad I did.
And it really is almost a tale of several people in a way that Margaret, she's bigger than life, it's rock and roll lifestyle, looks like Joan Jett, partying, but always at the same time attracted to danger. But I don't get a sense, and I want to get your reaction. Was it the addiction to adrenaline, or was it the idea of capturing, let's specifically like war zones, to give people a glimpse of what was going on?
Well, I think there was before the accident and there was after. And it all came out. It took me a long time to come before I met the family, which explained her to me. Like this pitiless childhood
Mhm.
meant that she was in some way trying to fill her spirit up with delicacies, with sex and drugs and like high speed roller skating in urban environments long before parkour or the kind of skating we know today,
Right.
and skydiving and stuff like that. And then when she went to war, it became almost the ultimate drug. Then she gets her face blown off. And then she learns through this terrible rehab and diminution of her power, of her beauty, of everything, that she kind of learns to love the world, something greater than herself. And from then on, it's only about telling the story. It's only about serving the non-combatants of war. And
Mhm.
truth tellers are an endangered species. We need to protect them and we need to celebrate them, whether they're blowing the whistle. If they're bringing truth for our benefit, it's time we stopped imprisoning and shooting the messenger.
Yes, and we need that more now than ever.
Yep.
I'm chatting with Lucy Lawless, director of the new documentary Never Look Away. So could you share a little bit for people? Because you mentioned, 1992, the Margaret shot in Sarajevo, and as you pointed out, really did get her face blown off, like her jaw blown off. But can you tell a little bit how that happened? And we'll talk about how the shift in her life afterwards a little bit more.
Okay, so one day Margaret's in the back of the van with the crew, and the driver says, "Oh, let's not go down Sniper Alley. We go around the back roads, and it'll be safer. Take us
Right.
longer." But and somebody in the van said, "No, go straight down, go direct." And it was a fatal mistake for Margaret. And in fact, it ruined that guy's life, in my opinion. That he was never the same again after Margaret was shot on his insistence that they take that route. And anyway, so Margaret gets her jaw blown off. She was a very beautiful, sexy, transgressive, wild woman prior to that. And this pitiless childhood meant that she had no pity for herself. So she survived a catastrophic injury, which would have killed many a young soldier, according to the doctors themselves. And so she goes back to war with no teeth. She says she wants to go back to Sarajevo to find her teeth. And guess, okay, I haven't told the story today because I forgot about it, but I found her teeth.
How?
They were in the back of the driver's head.
Oh my God.
I know. I couldn't fit it in the film because it seemed too disrespectful. I couldn't find a place to put it. But he was like, for years, I'd be in the shower, I'm washing my hair, and then ping, on the porcelain goes, bits of Margaret's freaking teeth, these shards of
oh my
porcelain,
God.
are popping out of his scalp. So I think Margaret would have appreciated that. She would have liked that story, but my paymasters were not so sure.
That's it. Well, it could be in the bonus features. Do they do DVDs for documentaries anymore? I was in a bonus feature for a documentary a long time ago. That was the thing where you didn't make the final cut. It was Fahrenheit 9/11, where with Michael Moore's film, and I ended up being in the bonus feature. But at least then, people bought DVDs. People bought DVDs then. Today, who's going to buy it anyway? So then afterwards, she goes back to work as a camera person. And she doesn't want to do the mundane thing they want her to do. She wants to get back to the war zones, which is just remarkable. And, you really go through and depict for us her struggles to speak, to regain mobility as a human being. Yeah. And there she is then carrying a camera in war zones. Once again, what was it? Simply the idea of this challenge, or was it something bigger in that moment to go back, not only to work, but to go back to war zones where she was first wounded? Not Sarajevo, but she was in the Middle East a lot, that you depicted in the film.
I think the adherence to the story is the effect of these people are trauma bonded to one another and to the job. So when a conflict kicks off, they have to be there. Their journalists are pinned in the red. We spoke to Christian Amanpour the day that Russia went into Ukraine, and all the journalists were freaking out. All the journalists on my personal feed, and she still gave us 40 minutes of her time to talk about Margaret, which is a mark of her respect for a fallen comrade, and that was just bloody great because every word was gold. But these people are dying; they're facing death repeatedly to bring us the truth.
It is, and you forget how important the footage is, because today's world we demand seeing things because of social media, and it's not. And just
yet
radio.
We demand sanitization as well, because people are going to lose their cornflakes if they're seeing that at 7 a.m. And in fact, we had to pull back from showing the style. I wanted to show some hardcore reality of war, but in the end, cooler heads prevailed, and I realized that you have to draw a line at the point at which the audience starts puking in the aisles. So we take it right to just below that point, showing Margaret's injuries, for example, but you affect people much more deeply with inference than showing the whole shark, as Steven Spielberg, as Jaws taught us.
Even with her injuries, that you had to prepare yourself, because you show part of it and then later you come back and show more of it, and then you show her talking, and it's such a stark contrast to the Margaret from before, who was truly bigger than life, dancing around and everything. I co-directed one documentary, so I know you get a lot of footage, you end up not using everything, and the selections you make say something about you. And I was curious, like, you included it when she goes back after the injury to the West Bank, and she's there, and the Israeli military on video, rams the reporters, shoots at them. She gets shot in the foot. At least she believes she shot in the foot. She may have been shot in the foot. She may have been wounded.
Right,
And
just below it, yeah.
right below. So why was that important? Because it resonates today, what we're seeing in Gaza and Lebanon play out with
Oh
journalists
God,
being hurt and killed
I
in
know.
horrific numbers. And you saw the
We didn't see this
1990s.
coming. I
Right.
know, it's a horrible, horrible echo. Um, we didn't plan that. In
Mhm.
fact, it was like 2 weeks after we locked the cut that October 7th happened.
Mhm.
And it was just a devastating realization, not only like the scale of what Hamas was doing to the Israelis was, how many people? Are you shitting me? And then what I knew and I didn't feel I could say because people wouldn't believe me, who am I to say these things? But oh my God, don't you know what's going to happen next?
Mhm.
Because the amplification of revenge is on on a scale that always is immense, but we didn't even know how great it would be. So yeah, that freaked me out actually, because it seemed certain what their retaliation would be. It was less in Margaret's day, but there is an awful precursor to what's going on.
And I'm chatting with Lucy Lawless, actress and director of the new movie Never Look Away. You know, in 1996, I believe it was 1996, she captured so much of the Lebanese war with Israel
Hezbollah,
then,
yeah,
Hezbollah war
yeah.
with Israel then. And there is, and again, it just resonates to today. And you're like, this cycle of violence just continues. That you'll have a militant group like Hezbollah, a terrorist group, do something, and then the civilians suffer the worst of it. And we saw that in the remarkable footage that she captured there of UN refugee camp where the Israeli military responded, I guess, to some kind of Hezbollah missiles and killed at least 200 civilians. And the footage she captured again was like today, but it was so heartbreaking. And it brings to life, it was 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, but it brings to life that moment. You see the wailing and the emotion on a parent who's lost a child or a husband that's lost a loved one. And that's only something footage and only something Margaret, who went there, as you captured, no one else came with it. She just went there. She goes, I have to be there. And
Yeah.
and I was wondering like how much you as a director seeing those images and was it a debate what to put in and not? And how painful was it to watch? I'm sure tons of footage on that.
Okay. Well, problem is that a lot of that footage got lost.
Oh,
A lot of
really?
Margaret's stuff got lost.
Oh,
So I was just watching, getting educated about this on YouTube in the very beginning stages, and about the conflicts and the, Hezbollah and Lebanon, and oh my God, what a story.
right.
Um, and I went, wait a minute, Margaret in the back of that shot. It's got to be black-haired woman, all dressed in black, on her knees and all the gore and everything. And I went, wait, whose is that? And it was some Iranian kid who was there on the day. And I tried to write to them through YouTube and through LinkedIn and got no response. So I hired somebody from the Citizens Advice Bureau in New Zealand for $61 an hour, a
Huh.
Farsi speaker, and she got in touch with this guy. And a lot of that footage is his, because if you see when he nears this thing, Margaret's
Ah,
already there.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, he had a completely different story than the common narrative, because he had been there earlier in the day. And anyway, that's not about Margaret, so I didn't go into that.
Right.
Yeah, I thought my film would be dead actually after all that, because we do show precursors to this horrible conflict, and in the Soviet Union as well. But
Yeah.
I think I'm not sure why I didn't get killed, and people don't even ask. Oh, the movie didn't get killed. But people don't even ask me about it, and somebody said it's because I tried. The film's about Margaret, so
Right.
everything has to be pared down to what's about
Sure.
Margaret. And my deal with Margaret's legacy was that she's a supremely non-judgmental human being. So I was going to be non-judgmental about the sex, the drugs, the punk music, the conflict, all of it, because that's how she saw the world. And in doing that, it kind of makes it the audience's problem. Okay, so different countries respond differently. Like Canada and New Zealand laugh their heads off about certain stuff. Americans do not laugh about a 31-year-old woman screwing a 17-year-old. They do not know how to feel. But in a way, I'm making it your problem. Now you've got to have a reaction, because I'm not telling you how to feel.
Right.
And that's something I learned from acting. You know, as an actor, if I cry, you don't have to. If you as an actor take them just to the brink of losing it, the audience is going to cry, not you. So that's where I learned that trick.
That's great. See, in America, if you want to be older and have sex with someone much younger, you have to be a Republican male member of Congress. See, then you could do that, and then that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you're not,
you got to drug them too. You got to drug them too.
Or you got to drug them and fly them over state lines and have them watch you on Fox News that day, and then you could be Attorney General of the United States. Because this is like, since I have you on, what is the immigration policy for New Zealand? In case I was looking for Plan B type of thing, could I?
Everybody's always threatening to run off to New Zealand, but they don't. And the reason we don't is because when the shit hits the fan, you want to be with the people you love. And also, you got to stay and fight. You got to stay and fight,
Right.
This ain't over. You got to stay and fight.
I agree. And
we're worth saving. Human beings, we are worth saving. And yeah.
So
I think climate change is going to make this all look like baby stuff.
Well, I mean, we have an incoming president who calls it a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese government. So, we're ready.
It's naughty Chinese.
We are. So, because you're a
tricky.
climate change activist. I mean, you were arrested for protesting some years ago, maybe other times for all I know. I saw one time I knew you were arrested for climate change activism. And I imagine the time since you began your activism to now, we've seen I cover a lot on my show with different people who work in the climate change field, so to speak. It just gets worse by the day, and it continues.
Yeah.
And
we're running out of time. We really need these 4 years. But unfortunately, this catastrophe, like what happened to Margaret, getting a bullet to the face, is the beginning of our opportunity for radical transformation. So we got to stay in the fight. What's the option? Go to New Zealand. We got problems there, let me tell you. All the same stuff.
I get it. No, I mean, I think most of us are going to stay. Some who have the economic wherewithal might flee. What do you think Margaret would think of the film? I'm sure people have asked you that, but because she's about the imagery. I don't mean the cut of the film and the shots of it, but the story you told of her.
I think she would be very divorced. I don't think she would kind of care. She'd be like, great, go do your thing. I don't think she would be proprietary, but she would understand it's she gave Joe the permission to go and make it. She said, you know everything, go make it. So I had to think about that a lot, because I felt Margaret breathing down my neck sometimes. And then I was just like, oh, no, I got to make my thing. I can't worry about anybody else but pleasing myself.
Well, I think there's a lot of love in the film, because you also interview people who loved her.
And thank you. Yes.
So that's important, so that it's not just a movie about a war correspondent and I won't say how she dies. You can watch the film and watch
it's all of it. It's a romp. Yeah, it's a romp through a highly
no, I'm sorry. And so the people sharing their emotion and her story, and and she's recovering from being shot, and like Jane Fonda was concerned about her, and other celebrities, Bill Clinton and stuff, and you're like, wow. Like she, for some reason, it really touched a nerve, but I was not aware of her at all. I know Marie Colvin, but I know she was a war correspondent, but it was also, I know her because I knew her name a little from her work, but then a film made her with Rosamund Pike, I think.
Rosamund Pike, that's right.
Right, who played her. So then you learn more about it. That's what this is so important.
Yeah.
Film. So look, she was a force of nature. What do you hope people take away from the film?
I hope that, like for me, I realize that your potential is not the horizon. Your potential is beyond the horizon. So you have to go there to even discover what you're capable of. So if she lost so much and then went on to achieved so much. Who are we not to reach that little bit higher for the thing we believe we're capable of? You are capable of it. So go there now. No time to lose.
No, and you have, and the clock is ticking at all time. And you know, last thing that, you know, you played a warrior princess, and you know that she is truly a warrior princess in her own way. And I think that's such a great way of summing it up. Not that you're not a warrior in your own right. I mean, everyone's out there doing the fight, and you do activism as well as acting and directing and producing. So so I so appreciate this. So Lucy, if people want to see this film, where can they see it?
It's going to be in limited cinemas this week, but on Friday it goes out on all the video platforms where you buy your film. So, you know, Amazon, YouTube, Apple, everywhere that you can rent a film, it will be available this Friday, November 22nd.
I hope people check it out. It's gotten great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. So congratulations on the work.
Oh, Dean, thank you, darling.
And Lucy, I hope you'll come back on for either another project you're working on or on your activism, because I'm really a political talk show, you know, a progressive talk show. But, you know, this fits perfectly with it. But again, when you're active, if you're doing anything with climate change or any issues about activism, keep me in mind. I'd love to have you on. The door's always open.
Amazing.
All right. Thanks a lot, Lucy. Have a great night.
Thanks for your time. Cheers.